Welcome back to Echo's Game of the Week. This week it's Zone Football Playoffs, which means the district championship game will be contested between undefeated Brennan and undefeated Brandeis Thursday night at Ferris Stadium. Kickoff at 7 p.m. So Pat, let's talk about the district championship game.
Wow.
Brennan, Brandeis.
That's the one everybody's been waiting for.
Brennan will possibly be without their starting quarterback.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
So that could throw a different wrinkle into this game.
Could throw a glitch in it, but his replacement's been very, very good.
Tavion Tolfree.
Yeah, I think he was held out of the last non-district game, and then he just lit up the stadium that night and came in the other night and did very well. And they've got the Warren kid who had a great game last week, but I have an idea Key's going to be ready. I mean, just an ankle, I've heard. So I think he comes back.
And on the other side, you got Brandeis. Probably the best running back in the district in Jalen Dukes.
I love watching that kid play.
And then Lozano at quarterback.
Lozano at quarterback. Brandeis is just, they're Brandeis. They're steady. Yeah. They play great defense. They run the ball well, and now they're passing.
And they've got a good receiver in Peyton Hall.
That kid's a playmaker.
Yeah.
He is just outstanding. I mean, they're not flashy, but I guess he is their flashy player. Everybody else is just steady, strong players. They execute well.
Or with Clark and Stevens, how do you see that one playing out?
You know, they played early in the year, right before there was their non-district game, that crossover
yeah.
game, and it was close for a while. Then Clark tried a 4th and 1 and missed it, and Stevens scored, boom, right like that. Then they get the ball again at the, like a minute later. Did some great clock management, kept calling timeouts, forced Clark to punt. Boom, another touchdown. All of a sudden, real close game. They're in the driver's seat, and they came out in the second half and just exploded. And I don't know if that's going to be carryover in this game, or it's got Clark's thinking, hey, these guys really took it to us. Let's get the win. Yeah. dangerous when you beat a team because
It gets in there.
When you beat a team, it can do one of two things. Oh my gosh, we got to play them again.
It tears them down, or it builds them up.
Or it builds them up. Because I remember when I went to high school, we lost to like Corpus Christi Miller in the second game of the season, 24-6 or 27-6, and then in the playoffs we met again and they beat us 27-21. So it's one of the,
another example last year when Brandeis and Johnson played week 2, and it was 63-58 or something like that. Brandeis won, and then they met again in the playoffs. And it was much lower scoring, and Johnson came out with that one.
And Johnson came back and won. And the thing Stevens has to do is put that game behind him. That previous, okay, we beat him,
but it's another day.
Yeah, and this is playoffs. It's a different season, and they're going to be fired up even more for us. So they got to watch that.
And at the other stadium on Friday night, Warren and O'Connor for the other playoff spot. And that one, how do you see that one going?
That could be interesting. Been under the gun the past 2 games. They had the heartbreaking loss to Stevens in the last seconds, and it almost happened again, but they held on against Taft and won. And Warren's got a lot of firepower. They're healthy now. They've got a really good quarterback, receivers, and running back, and they can cause trouble to anybody. Look at the points they put on the board the past 2 weeks. O'Connor is O'Connor. They bounced back from that loss to Brandeis, and they're just steady. They always seem to come up with needed plays in those games like this.
Especially when it's with the playoffs on the line.
Exactly. A few years ago, they had to beat, I think 2 years in a row, they had to beat Clark the final game of the season to go to the postseason, and they did it. And they just made the plays, and then they got in the playoffs and had a good run. So it's going to be an interesting one.
They have the definition of running back by committee. They shuffle several different guys in there.
I mean, they don't have a lot of like this one. They don't have a 1,000-yard rusher, but they got guys who are getting the yards.
And including Josiah Velasquez, who shifted over from linebacker earlier this year.
That was a very good move.
And finally this week, we will not be having a normal trivia question, but what we will be doing is viewer participation, and we're asking you who you think will win the Volleyball Region 4 Championship, since volleyball is now an area round. And so if you want to comment on this YouTube video or email echosportseditor@gmail.com with who you think will win Region 4, we will read some of those responses on next week's show. So who do you see winning Region 4 and making a trip to Garland?
Oh wow, that's going to be good. It's going to be tough, because Canyon and New Braunfels are really, especially Canyon, are really playing well right now. New Braunfels is good. Reagan's typical, Reagan and Churchill, but I really like O'Connor. I think this could be their year. I mean, it's not going to be easy. They're going to have some tough matches.
Up and downs.
Yeah, in the second match, they get through this week, the first round. Second round will be a little tougher because I think they might get Churchill maybe, or
possibly,
or whoever's in the Northeast. And after that, it's going to be tough. But I like the way they play. I think this is the year that Garcia gets it all together, and they go to Garland. So that'd be neat to see a new team go there.
I want to pick O'Connor, but I saw one of the New Braunfels, I think it was Canyon, earlier this year, and this is going to make a lot of people unhappy around here, but I think Canyon's
playing very well right now. They used to beat New Braunfels in a 5-game,
5-set game.
Last Friday they were coaching but for the #1 spot. They really looked good doing it. And they're young. They just kind of started clicking because earlier in the year they really just searching for an identity. But gosh, now they have kicked it into gear, and that's going to be a tough. If that's the matchup, that's going to be tough.
Yeah.
And New Braunfels has kind of hit a little slump the past couple of weeks, but
once the playoffs,
yeah, they'll get it back into gear, and then Reagan and Churchill are always good. But I think O'Connor can do it if they just play steady.
I hope they do it.
It'd be nice.
I'm going to play devil's advocate. There's so many good teams in this region.
I know, and you could pick any of those four, the ones we mentioned, four, we mentioned six, any of them could be there.
And it's possible that some of these teams we pick when we do our volleyball area round preview on Wednesday, they may have been eliminated.
That could happen.
And so we may be wrong by the time we do our area round preview.
Yeah, but I don't think that's going to happen the first round. I think Northside has a sweep for the first round.
And that's a reminder that our YouTube channel is where you can find Game of the Week and volleyball round previews, and once football playoffs start, the football playoff previews. So if you haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, like the videos, whether it's Game of the Week or the Chris Law in Russia videos or the goat tying competition that we knocked off the #1 perch a few weeks ago.
Yep.
There's several good videos on that YouTube channel for you to look at, and so take the time, watch them, like them, and come back next week when we have our football playoff preview.
Yeah.
This has been Echo Game of the Week.
We'll see you next week. Hopefully it'll only take one take next week.
Hopefully so.